Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is election day, and you know what? We are voting for the Lord's side today, and I'm proud to be joined by Pastor Anthony and Terry Blackburn, and we're bringing you live election coverage exclusively from Gamechangers and also Lord of Hosts Church and One Voice Ministries. We're going to be having lives throughout the night as well with election coverage. Don't forget as well, Pastor Hank will be live at 6 o'clock Central Time on America Stands, and that's going to be incredible. But then top of the hour, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we're going to be doing different lives here as we're actually just sitting in the tabernacle right now. But we're going to bring you live election coverage throughout the night at the top of the hour. We're going to be live here for the next hour 15 minutes. We have some guests that we're planning to call in as well. And really the whole goal of tonight is to just bring truth and bring peace so that we know what we're praying for, we know what we're standing for. And listen, if you haven't voted already, get there, get to the polls right now and vote because, I mean, guys, you can agree, not voting, it really doesn't change anything.
Yeah, you have to participate. That's the important thing. I think a lot of people get so caught up with what's going on and paying attention to the headlines, getting caught up in the news and the social media memes that are being scrolled on. And it's like, you got to realize you can't just do this from the sidelines. You can't just talk from the sidelines. You've actually got to get in the game. You've got to participate, and you've got to go out and vote and make a difference.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. You know, I think it just goes without saying, you know, the thousands of people that sacrificed their lives in war, blood, sweat, and tears so that we could have the privilege. And really, it's our civic duty and responsibility as free citizens to go out and vote and make our voice heard. You know, we put so much weight and stock in a Facebook post or a comment, but yet at the same time, people say out of that same mouth, you know, well, my vote doesn't really matter. Well, let's multiply that times 2 million, 30 million. You know, now it really does matter. So we can't have that mentality, and there's no room for that anymore. And I think we've both seen what happens, especially when the church decides to back out and no longer choose to have a voice and use our civic duty to do what is necessary to ensure that God's will and that his purposes for the nation and for the earth are established.
Yeah, and you know, I'll say this to the point of why it's so important to vote is, you know, this is a country where, you know, so many people seem to want to complain about this country, but then never leave. So it's like the only country where people will complain about something and be like, well, if this person wins, I'm leaving the country. And then they don't leave. They said it in 2016, they said it in 2020, and people are still here, still complaining about the same things. And I'm like, have you voted? Do you vote? How do you get involved? And then here's the other thing. Look how many people that have come in through the borders illegally and were given promises of jobs, clothing, shelter, etc. If they would just vote for a certain candidate, we'll give you all this stuff. So there's voter manipulation. So this is why we have to counter that voter manipulation by voting and using our voice to vote the Lord's side. Amen?
Amen. Well, and also reaching out to people we know. I think we also discount how much power and influence you just talking to your friends and to your family and to your coworkers and saying, hey, here's why I'm voting for so-and-so. Here's why I'm voting this way. And explaining to them and laying out the facts. I think people, a lot of times we kind of discount the power that we actually have when we just talk about here's my beliefs and here's why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think a lot of people discount that.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I want to say too, kudos to you, because without you, Terry, I feel like a lot of us would still be misinformed. And so you've really taught me something. I think you've taught, you know, a lot of us something, and that's really make sure you're researching these candidates, even the judges. You know, take time to do your homework, find out where these people are standing in terms of certain policies. A lot of times that involves having to go and dig, because they will do stupid things like say that they're nonpartisan, but then you find out that they've been endorsed by the Democratic Party or women who run for Nebraska, hint, hint.
Paid a certain amount of money
and they've been paid a certain amount of money by a certain person that's tied back to a certain party. And I think once you gain that information, once you've put in the time and you've put in the energy to research these people, you will definitely be more likely to go out and vote.
Yeah.
But you've got to eliminate this ignorance and willful bliss. There's no more room for that, folks. We have to do what we have been, privileged to do, to live in this nation as a free country, but free doesn't mean it comes free.
That's right.
There are
That's
certain
right.
responsibilities, there are certain duties, there are certain decisions and standards that we have to live at to uphold. And I think we've seen that in the last 4 years, Pastor Matt.
Absolutely. So I want to get started then with this, and real quick too, we'll be sharing with you guys at some point here. There's a lie that Kamala just got caught in that you guys, if you haven't seen it, we're going to share it in a little while. But one of many
Right.
lies, but
That's the
one that
latest.
just happened literally hot off the press. And you guys are definitely going to want to see this one when we share that. But Terry, I want to start with you. What is going on right now so far with the swing states, and so I kind of want to swing it over to you about the swing states. But right now, what I've been hearing is the early voting in the swing states have really, even in some what counties are called, Democratic-based or blue counties, are even voting Trump right now.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of early votes swinging towards Trump in these massive swing states. And I haven't heard one person say that if Trump wins Pennsylvania, he's going to have his hand on the Bible
Right.
in the Oval Office.
No, and Pastor Matt, you're exactly right. A lot of people are noticing that this trend, really, there's a lot of records being broken with this early voting. It was pushed really hard. It's always been pushed pretty hard by the Democratic Party, but this election cycle, the Republicans really made it a point to push early voting to really try to help encourage that voter turnout that we would hopefully see. And so we are seeing that. I've seen reports of anywhere between 77 million, I've seen upwards of 80 million plus early voting already taking place. So we've already got that many people that have already casted a vote before we even got to today. And so I think that's why we're also seeing a lot of these polls that are coming out where in states and in counties where you would normally see more Democrats putting in ballots and you would see that kind of surge. You're not seeing that right now because the Republicans really have had this kind of rejuvenation of, hey, it's okay for us to early vote.
Yeah.
It's okay for us to go out there to get in lines in early or mail in and go ahead and get our votes in and locked in early. And so that's what we're seeing with a lot of, really across the country, not even just in the swing states, but across the nation, we're seeing early voting, just the numbers skyrocketing, unlike we've ever seen before. I mean, we even saw it here in Nebraska. We saw early voting records as well. They've said that we've had at least 117,000 early votes casted here in Douglas County. And that's not even all of Nebraska. That's just Douglas County numbers that they've already had casted. But that was before Election Day. So the amount of people that are turning out, which I think is exciting too, because that shows that we've got people that are taking this election seriously, that are taking their duty to go out and vote seriously. And so that's encouraging to me to see the amount of people that are going out and are voting early. And so that is just it. Well, and I also want to point out too, with early voting, they start counting those sooner.
Yes.
So like here in Douglas County, they actually started counting early votes at 10 o'clock on Monday. They started counting early votes. And then they did their second counting here in Douglas County. They started doing counting again at 3 p.m. So that was their second time. So about an hour or so ago, they started their second round of counting. And so when those polls close here in Nebraska at 8 p.m., but across the nation, those first results that we're going to start seeing throughout the evening, most of those are going to be early votes. And so you'll get a good picture of what the election is going to look like because we've had so many people voting early.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I know there was a specific county in Pennsylvania that even just recently just extended their polling hours to 9:30. It was supposed to be 8 Eastern. They just extended to 9:30. I guess there was something with the machines or a malfunction or something with the machines, and so
Surprise.
So I saw they're telling people stay in line and vote and don't leave the line. Stay in line.
Yep.
Make sure you don't leave your place in line. Stay in line. I guess this is the only county in Pennsylvania where they're extending the polls till 9:30. The other ones are, closing at 8. But there's a big fight going on within Pennsylvania, Terry.
Absolutely. That is a major state that Trump really needs to win. And so to get to that number of 270, because that's the number that you need in order to cross that electoral college count. And so, yes, a lot of eyes will be in Pennsylvania, which is why I'm not surprised that surprisingly, we've got some counties that are having issues with their voting machines. Of course they are. It's, on election day, of course we're having technical difficulties. And so, but like you said, Pastor Matt, for those people who, if you are in a county that's like that, where you're saying they're having issues or for some reason there's some kind of backup, do not get out of line. Stay in line. Because if you're already in line before they close the polls, they have to let you go through. And so, and in that case in Pennsylvania, they're extending the polling closing time. But if you're in line, stay in line. Make sure that you get an opportunity to cast your rightful vote, because you should be able to have that opportunity. So don't let any of these weird tactics that we're probably going to continue to see throughout the night of weird things happening, because I've already seen some things of people saying that they're on the voting machines, they were trying to select Trump and it wouldn't select him, or it would select Kamala instead when you went to go, or
Kentucky.
Yeah,
I saw
was
that,
Kentucky?
and California. Yep.
Yeah,
Two different places. Like, I think it was, I can't remember which state it was, but both these states had this issue. One was, if you went to select Trump, it automatically selected Kamala and Walz.
Yeah.
The other one was, Trump wasn't even on the first page of the ballot. You had to flip to like a second page and then his name showed up.
Wow.
So it's like, you can just see that the fix that they're trying to do. But I know that God is going to have the final say.
That's
but
right.
our vote is what matters. We
That's
have
right.
to go out and vote on the side of righteousness and the side that's going to say, we're not putting up with this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing is, over the last few years, so many people were silent. Mm-hmm. But now, like, I was talking with pastors even, there's a peace that I feel now here in this election, as opposed to like, back in the previous years, there was kind of just something you didn't feel was right. There was something in the air that just did not feel right. And I think, obviously we all went to bed that night thinking Trump was,
Right.
Way ahead. And once we all went to bed, we saw the fix start happening in Michigan and in Arizona and Wisconsin and major swing states. And so, I just believe, though, with all this early voting, and Terry, feel free to chime in on this too, this is going to cause people, because of the early voting, one thing people have been saying is it's a lot harder for the Democrats to try to rig this or fix this because of so many people showing up to early vote. I early voted, and I know, pastors did as well, and a lot of people did. But I think that really could set the tone, and it's why a lot of these polls and surveys are coming out now saying, like, hey, if Trump gets Pennsylvania, this could be a landslide. Like,
Right.
he could just mop the floor with Kamala at this point.
No, absolutely. And I think too, a lot of people are energized this election cycle that we haven't really seen before in 2016 or 2020. You really have people that are feeling that urgency of, hey, I've got to go out and vote.
Yeah.
I've got to go out and be a part of this, because they saw what happens when you try to sit out, or if you don't take an active role in what's going on. We saw that in 2020. And so I really am encouraged by seeing how many people and the turnout that we have happening right now in this election cycle. It is really encouraging.
It is. And you said something that was interesting, Terry, about how there's a kind of a reinvigorated just energy to go out and be a part and play a role. And I'll be honest with you guys, 2020, they kind of set the stage for people to be complacent. Mm-hmm. Stay at home.
Yeah.
We got it. Let us handle it.
The whole COVID thing, yeah,
and it set,
everything.
Yes, and it set a mindset that, they're in our best interest. And so we kind of fell asleep a little bit, trusting, elected leaders and officials in office to kind of just,
Right.
exercise their power unchecked.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened, 7 months later into the lockdown when you had the election. So this is what happens when leaders are left to their own devices.
Yep.
They start doing things that are for their own benefit. And at the end of the day, it's not for the people's benefit. And it's why the founding fathers established a government saying, we the people,
Right.
by the people, for the people, because they knew if you don't have checks and balances in place, then people who are in powerful positions will, by nature, use that for their own personal gain. So to those people right now, I can hear the person saying, well, I still feel like it doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Yeah. And it matters because you exist. Right. And we've said this how many times? Yeah. You're on this earth because God saw a problem that only you could solve, and you were created to do that. And it's the same thing, the same foundation and principles that this nation was built off of. Your voice matters because why? You are standing as a representative for the kingdom of God. Your vote, your actions, your choices, when they align with the kingdom of God, they allow the Spirit of God to flow through your life and to affect change wherever it is that you go. And that's why it's so important that our actions, our words, and even our thoughts have to line up with the Word of God.
That's right.
We have to be consistent in what we're doing, and it can't just be, it can't just be lip service. It has to be action involved. And so like you said, Terry, it's really cool to see so many people that have taken this initiative by heart and to heart, and they have chosen to vote early. And it was pretty cool, too. We sat out in the voting line for like 4 hours yesterday. Shout out to my wife, Shayna. She was out there for 4.5. I was out there for 3. Brandon, our drummer, he was out there, and my brother, and Terry's brother, obviously. Get the correlation for the family. He was out there for 3 hours. I think I saw Eddie and Justine out there. So there was a lot of LOHers out there. But what was cool was we had the chance to interact with some people, or maybe it wasn't so cool to interact with other people. But either way, just to strike up conversations with various people and get their thoughts and hear, hey, I made a point of it to be a part of this year because I didn't want to miss my opportunity to have a voice. It just feels different, guys. I don't know about you, but it feels like we really are stepping into a new era. It feels like it's a new season, and God is really doing something. And yes, we know that there are going to be people that are still voting on the left, but I believe that the voice of God and those who hear him, have heard him, have done their part, and it is going to just be like a tidal wave that just overflows anything that the evil could do right now.
Yeah, it's really cool what, we're seeing. And you mentioned something with the devices and using it to their own benefit. We just happened to see that recently, today, literally before we went live, we were talking about it off camera. So they have this video ready. I want them to play this really quick for all the viewers out there. And this is for all you guys that are just tired of the lies. Here is a lie right here from Kamala Harris herself. Check this out.
How you doing? Have you voted already? Give me a second. You did, thank you.
You can go out and watch this. So just keep playing it, guys. So literally, she's on the phone, and in the video, she says, thank you so much, like thanking somebody for voting for her and all of this. But it was completely staged. And how you know that, if you want to put that back up one more time, guys, you can see, watch right here, she holds her phone and she's on the camera app. She's not even on the phone. So she's staging this, hey guys, thank you so much for voting for me. And I appreciate that. And then flips her phone and it's the camera app.
My favorite part is when they slow it down.
Yeah, they slow it down. Right. I mean, you can see, it's not even on the phone. There's the white button to take the picture. So legitimately, they are at the point where they're panicking, trying everything they can, and then God's just exposing the lies because, that's what happens. You want to lie, you want to play that rhetoric, you want to play that game, it ain't going to last. At some point, it's going to be exposed. And actually, too, I just saw hot off the press, too, Terry, I don't know if you saw this or Pastor Anthony, but this was on CNN, but apparently they put out one of those exit polls, and it says opinion of Biden as president, 41% approve and 58% disapprove. This is on CNN, mind you.
Wow.
And so if this holds true, I mean, again, landslide. This could legitimately be a landslide victory for President Trump tonight.
Yeah. No, it absolutely could. And I meant to mention this earlier, but some of the last polls, pre-polling before Election Day today, they were showing that Trump was currently leading by about 2 points in Arizona. They had him at about a little less than a point in North Carolina, a little less than a point in Georgia, and then Pennsylvania, they still kind of had a toss-up, and then 0.3 points ahead Trump in Nevada. So, like you said, very close.
Those are all your major swing states.
but
And he's
yeah.
up right
What's
now.
going on in Michigan right now? Last I heard Wisconsin, I think Trump was winning in Wisconsin, but what did we have in Michigan?
I would need to look it up. This source that I'm in, this is ABC, so you know. We already know how they are sometimes.
I mean, I saw a source that literally said that Kamala was winning Iowa. I'm like, she is not winning Iowa. Are we kidding? No way.
But this had Harris up by about a point in Michigan.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah, well, ABC is also the same people that put out the thing that Pastor Hank shared on Sunday with the whole Harris won 58% to 42%.
Right.
And it looked like something that they did not mean to have on their screen in that race. That there was a race car driving race going on, and in the middle of the broadcast, you can see it right here on the screen. They literally put this up in the middle, or it was 52%, 47%. So literally, like, they put this up and as if like it was a called race in Pennsylvania. And this was before the election. I mean, this was like last week that they just did this. So again, I think this is why, though, early voting is so smart, Terry, because it really makes it hard for them to be able to, try different things like this, because really they are trying everything. I mean, we've seen the leaked videos of Kentucky and California, but I think right now, I mean, what are you sensing, other than Pennsylvania, are the most important states right now that we've just got to stand in prayer for?
Well, one of them, we're sitting right in it.
Yeah,
It's right here
they
in
mentioned
Nebraska,
this,
but specifically
the
Douglas
primaries,
County, because of the fact that we split our electoral college votes. And so
Us and Maine, I believe, are the only two.
Yes, us in Maine.
Yes.
And so right here in Nebraska, Douglas County is going to be a huge point. And so that's why, I mean, we saw in the last 2 months, we had Tim Walz come twice. We had his wife come once. We had what's his name? Kamala's husband. Why am I forgetting his name? Douglas Emhoff. There it is.
Yeah.
He came. And then we also had, I think Kamala's sister was here. So the fact that we had so many people that came here to Douglas County, specifically from the left, shows you how important this electoral vote is. And so if there's something to be praying about, it would be about Omaha and Douglas County and this second congressional district, and making sure that this does stay red.
Yeah.
I
And
just
it
have
doesn't
one
go
thing
blue.
to say to that, and that's go big red. Go big red. And Pastor Hank had a prophecy not too long
That's
ago
right.
concerning that, where he said that for those that have tried to manipulate with the blue dot, God said there's a reason why the slogan here is go big red. And it was through Nebraska that we would see this thing turn. So if you're listening in Omaha, if you're in Douglas County and you have yet to vote, make sure to get out there. We need your voice. We need you to align with righteousness and justice so God can do what he has said he would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there, Terry, right now, maybe anything you've seen where there was states that, maybe necessarily wasn't a swing state, but it was primarily blue, where they're saying Trump could actually take this and steal a certain state? Is there anything that you've seen in that regard, that normally it's a Democratic, liberal, blue state, type of voting, but could actually switch in Trump's favor?
That's a good question. I would need to look. I haven't seen anything right now as far as some of the pre-polls, but like I said, I think it's going to be interesting at that 8 o'clock as polls close, as we
Yes.
start to see those early voting numbers come in.
Yeah.
Because again, the Republican Party pushed so hard for early voting, and we're seeing those record numbers now. And so I'm going to be really curious to see how that shifts some of those states and the counting in some of those states that would normally, it seems like they're for sure one way or the other, how that shifts after we see those numbers come in.
Could you see Trump in the 300s with the electoral finalization of the voting? Like, could you see it being that much of a landslide that he is like way into, I know you need 270 to win, but could you see it being something where, maybe he gets 313 or something like that, or 312, and it's just a total mop of the floor?
They would definitely need to flip some states in order for him to get to that 300 mark. Is it impossible? No.
No. Yeah.
But I would need to look too again to just kind of see where some of those states are at as far as polling. And again, polling is what it is.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives us a guide to see kind of where things are. But I would never call anything out of the question, is what I would say.
So, Pastor Anthony, regarding some of Pastor Hank's words, and speaking of Pastor Hank, audience, don't forget he will be live with America Stands at 6 o'clock tonight for election coverage with them and Pastor Gene, Greg Stevens, and many other voices and vessels that are anointed in this kind of stuff. They're going to be speaking as well. And we'll break over here when that time comes to just allow Pastor Hank and Victory Channel, and I know Brother Copeland's going to be speaking tonight over there as well. So they're going to be live at 6 o'clock Central tonight. But then once that is over, and Pastor Hank has done some stuff with America Stands, we're going to be coming back live at the top of the hour. I know Pastor Brenda's going to be coming on. Pastor Hank said he's going to stop by here as well. And so top of the hour, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, just all those different hours tonight, we're going to be coming live just at the top of the hour for just some, election coverage as more data starts coming out, more things come out. But guys, right now, your voice and your vote matters so much, and it's why we have to stand and pray. We cannot stop praying. We cannot stop fighting. And listen, if you have somebody, like Terry, you mentioned it so perfectly, calling somebody that maybe, they haven't voted and they're in your family or they're, in your realm of communication, they're a friend, calling them and making sure they're educated and they're knowing to go out and vote before these polls close. I think that's so important.
I just looked at this Atlas poll because I've been screenshotting polls all week because that's just what I do for fun. But this Atlas poll I found that interesting came out, and it was showing that it had it at 312 for Trump with the possibility, and that has him winning Wisconsin. It has him winning Arizona, winning Nevada. It has him winning Pennsylvania.
Yeah, see, that's why I was wondering, because I was asking about that because I had seen a couple things where it was, some of these swing states he was winning, and that's why I was like, is it in the realm of possibility that he even gets to 312 or 313, and it's just that big of a defeat, Yeah. So
this had him winning a lot of those swings. It had him winning Michigan.
When did that come out?
So this came out, let me see what the date is on this. Okay, and so that would have been November 1st.